Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would do our first review of the new updates, and it's for the Pz.Sp.Wg P204F pack, and then also, of course, the French version, the AMD 35 pack. Now, grinding these things out, or at least the research for them, was pretty easy. Obviously, these are just rank 2 vehicles, so it only took 1 or 2 games playing some rank 3 premiums while I was doing the Firos event, and actually playing them, I had a pretty decent time. Once again, didn't take too many matches to get through them, but of course they are some rank 2 scout tanks, which at least for me, I feel very confident in. The nice thing about both of these being rank 2 is the fact that they get access to scouting, so even if you're in a matchup where you generally don't feel like you're in the ascendancy, you can still do something. You can still have a bit of fun. Now, one of the things I will say about this vehicle is it doesn't really feel like a lot of the other 2.7 light tanks that are there. You have stuff like the Stuart, you have stuff like the Crusader, and then obviously the Harry Hopkins that just came in at 2.3. And a lot of the other 2.7s are a lot more mobile than this thing, at least to start off with. I really felt slow before the modification upgrades, like stuff like the engine, the filters, the transmission, and the tires. This thing just did not move. Being 8.5 tons is really not too crazy amount, but the problem is the engine itself being 105 horsepower, and the transmission as well, not exactly being forgiving, which was a bit of a problem. Technically, this thing is only 0.3 tons heavier than the other AMD 35, but it just felt incredibly sluggish, especially on certain maps. Maybe it was the traction changes that they brought in, or maybe it was some other changes. But yeah, flat ground was definitely an area for this thing. So the next thing about it is, of course, this vehicle has access to the 50mm KWK 39/1. This is a long-barreled 50mm. You'll find it on the Puma, which used to be this BR, by the way, which kind of shows you how crazy the Puma was at this BR. And then also, you will find it on some of the Pz.III. The gun is good. It has really good penetration, and its shell is not just a standard AP shell, which you'll find a lot at this BR, which has high penetration. It also has some explosive mass behind it, so it has 17 grams, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it creates a decent kind of splash after penetration, which means that, you know, it does quite a lot. Now, the only issue with this is you only have 18 rounds with this thing, so you do have to pick your shots pretty well. I didn't have too many issues in terms of actually running out of ammunition. I was able to move around at quite a speed, so going between the capture points and getting all that done wasn't too hard. The major issue I actually had was surviving long enough to actually use all of the ammunition. It doesn't have like a secondary gun, it doesn't have any smokes, so you have to rely on the mobility to kind of stay alive, and as we talked about before, that can be pretty limited, especially early on. One of the biggest problems that I actually had with using these machines was CAS, and the CAS aircraft just annihilating me as I went around, and that made me feel absolutely horrific, if I'm honest with you. And that's just kind of a problem with all these vehicles recently that they've added. They are just CAS magnets. This one can be destroyed by 30 cals, 50 cals, it can be destroyed by anything. It's open topped, and even in the areas which aren't open topped, it's 7mm of armor. So yeah, you can destroy it very quickly. So it's a vehicle you want to have a very high heavy impact at the start of the game, and then bring in other elements to be able to kind of carry it. Luckily, at this BR of 2.7, you have the Pz.III J1, which is an incredibly solid medium tank that you can do. And then also you have either tank destroyers you can bring in, or AAs, or even the Pz.Sp.L.1c, if you have that as a premium. Now, once again, the problem with that vehicle is it gets cast quite easily, but at least it's quite mobile and tracked. So if you have areas of the battles which you can't really go in the wheeled vehicle, the Pz.Sp., it's generally okay. For France at 2.7, you have a crazy good lineup, so you don't really have any of these issues. You have the Crusader, you have the Stuart, you have the AMD 35 pack, you have the B1 Tur if you have it, and then also you have, of course, the P40, the A35, like you're stacked for a lineup with it. The actual choice with France is whether you actually put the AMD 35 pack in the lineup, because for me, I would actually say the Stuart and the Crusader are generally better than it, just because they have the stabilizers, and then also at the same time, they have the tracks, making them a little bit more mobile compared to the MD35 in most situations. So that is something you kind of will have to work out for yourself. Do you want the extra kind of power of the gun, of the 50mm, or do you want the stability of the 37 or the 2-pounder? And I think some people will definitely go for the 50. For me, I would go for the 2-pounder or the 37, just because I like that more kind of like stability and normalcy, so you can get the first shot off as you go. The elevation speed of the 50mm isn't that bad for this BR. It's about 5 degrees and then 20 degrees horizontal, which isn't too bad. And the targeting speed is generally pretty good. Like overall, it's not a bad like kind of gun to get on the target. And since you're supposed to be using your mobility to get around the side and do stuff like that, you can generally have a good time. One of the issues with this BR is if you get fully up-tiered into 3.7, there are some pretty big monsters you can run into, but the gun means that you can kind of deal with them, which is okay. I feel like with this vehicle, I probably would have got a bit more frustrated with it if I'd had to play more time in it to spade it, but mostly with the French one and the German one, it took less than like 10 battles to be able to finish them off, and that pretty much meant that I could kind of have a bit of fun with the gun, move around and be okay. But there was definitely times where it was like, oh, well, I've had a very positive 5 minutes here, and then I just get machine gunned to death by a plane. Or, oh, I'm in this area and, you know, scouted everything, and there's now targets that I'm not really going to be able to penetrate here. Or, you know, I'm getting pushed by like T-34s, for example, and I have to be very accurate with my gun, or they can just kind of shoot me anywhere. But that's generally the life of a light tanker on this BR. It's not something you're going to be able to get away from, and it's not something that can really do anything for. I'm very glad that they added this to the French and also the German tech tree. Would have been kind of annoying if it only ended up in one of them, because you do actually get different experiences playing them because of the matchmaking and also the teams as well. And I'll give you my stats to kind of show you that. In the Pz.Sp.Wg P204F pack, this is the one which we played as Germany. It took 5 battles to spade it, 80% win rate, so we lost 1 battle, 12 ground kills, and 5 deaths. So in every single battle, we ended up dying, but we had a pretty positive kind of setup on the battle, which is quite good. For the French, we played 4 battles in the vehicle and also 75% win rate, so once again lost 1 battle out of the 4. We had 15 destructions, 15 ground kills, and 2 deaths, showing that, at least in the French one, we were a lot more prolific than the German one, at least in the short period of time that we played these. What this also showed is how quickly you can get these things ground out. Basically, in like 10 battles, ended up spading 2 full 2.7s. And also, one mention, the matchmaking, the waiting times, at least on the NA server, we're nearly getting up to a minute for the 2.7 bracket, which just seemed very high. But also, I will say, it was straight after the update. There's probably a lot of people downloading it. And also, at the same time, it was on like a Tuesday. So, you know, give it a little bit of break from that, as usual. So for me, did I enjoy my experience in this vehicles? Yes. Do I prefer stuff like Crusaders and Stuarts at the same BR? Yes, but that doesn't mean these aren't fun. The gun is still nice, and also it's nice to kind of have another 2342 at the same BR that it was before, which once again just kind of proves how crazy the Puma used to be. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.